says off. Oh, there it says stop it. Hi, everybody. Aloha. Michaela Kennedy here with startingmyownbusiness.org. And my dear friend, Jennifer Nearents. Jennifer, how are you doing today? But I think you're better than you were a few days ago, yes?
I am. I have the nice, deep, raspy, cold voice, but I am much better. I have a voice today, which I haven't had for the last couple days. So I am here. I may be a little quieter than usual, but this is one that's near and dear to my heart. There was no missing it for anything. So.
Oh, that's awesome, and I so appreciate, and I'm sure all our viewers really appreciate you being here as well. And as soon as I saw you today and I heard your voice, first of all, your voice really isn't as bad. You know, people get the nasal and everything, or rasp, you can barely hear it. You've got this Lauren Bacall thing happening, so it's actually kind of a sexy sound. So there's nothing like sick, annoying about it, at least from my point of view. But it does remind me of a story that that just came to my mind, and I want to tell you guys this off the bat, because years ago, we're talking 20 years ago, I think everybody in the globe knows what Amway is. Amway is like one of the original multi-level marketing companies. They're still going strong. There are people in my family who are still buying their products, and my brother and my sister were pretty strong in Amway for a while there. And there was their leader, their group leader was a pretty amazing guy. They had gone one day to somebody's house to give a presentation, and it was maybe an hour before they had gotten set up, whatever. And he said, well, where is, I don't remember the guy's name, so I'll just say John. He's like, well, where's John? He's like, oh, well, he asked to lay down in the back bedroom. So my brother goes in, and there's John laying with, he's shivering, he's white as a ghost, he's got the covers pulled up like this. And he's like, oh, John, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, I have the flu. And I forgot, he said, you should have just stayed home. And this is, people are thinking, well, I don't want to catch it either, right? But then he said, well, we got to get going. Are you going to join us? And he said, sure. And he threw off the covers, and he was fully dressed in a really nice suit and tie and everything. He even had his shoes on. And he jumped up, he shook himself, and he said, I'm ready. And the next hour, he gave a powerhouse presentation. He was full of focused energy, and he did a very good job of hiding the fact that he had this obstacle, which, when you're feeling sick, that can be a pretty major obstacle.
Yes.
A lot of us like, oh, I'm too tired to do this. I want to just lay down and watch some TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been battling that for the last couple of days, and because we had a deadline, I want my anxiety program to launch on the 10th, and one of the things that we had agreed to do was a press release. Well, this week was about getting the press release ready to go, and I spent the last 2 days on the couch. I couldn't speak, so it had to be done through text or through email, and it took easily 3 to 4 times as long as it should have taken, but we got it done. We launched it last night. So, and interestingly,
oh, congratulations! That's great. A couple of days ahead of time too.
Say again? I didn't hear you.
So you launched you launched your program.
Yeah, I got the press release done, and it opens on the 10th. And one of the benefits, I think, to having to be it took everything in me to focus. There was no problem with the press release. It went through first try, which for my first press release, I was pretty impressed that we had dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's and everything, and we got it right. So
that's awesome.
It would have been very easy to say, oh, God, I don't feel good. Right out, I don't feel good, I'm going to bed. But it wouldn't have done me any good because I couldn't have slept anyway.
Well, again, this all segues right into today. What we're talking about is a willingness to take action. whether it is our health or something that is bothering us, or an obstacle. I remember the, there's funny, there are memories that seem like such simple memories, but they stay so strongly in your memory banks. And I remember one of them being in college. I had gone to a party in one of the dorm rooms, and at the end, I was walking out, and I had never been in this particular dormitory before. And the way the doors were, they had these handles that came down, and when a handle is on the outside, instead of the flat surface that pushes. So I'm pulling and pulling, and some guy walks by and he said, "Oh yeah, that door sticks. You got to pull it really hard." So I pull really hard, and then I like fell into it, and the door opens in the opposite direction. So it reminded me that, sometimes you just have to step back and not let something really bug you and let obstacles get in your way. It reminds me of one more story, and I'm telling you these stories about obstacles because the obstacles, whether it be our health or whether it be a technical glitch, or whether it may be something that we're just not sure about the next step. Sometimes we just need the willingness to move forward. And I want to show you something. I brought this thing. It's the end of the summer. Well, it's already it's into fall now. We're in the middle of fall already. And I have this thing this right here that I have hanging out on my deck, and I use it to hang my bird feeder. It's the hummingbird feeder. So I can look out and I can see all these beautiful hummingbirds that come all summer long. Well, last week was the end of the hummingbirds. They all left on their migratory route down south. And I looked at it today and I said, it's already October, and I better get that thing down now before it is cemented to the deck rail for the winter. So I started to try to undo it, and I don't know if you can see or not, but this darn thing right here, you don't see the color very well. Actually, it's dark now. This thing is rusted, like just corroded, like a big mess. And it's funny, right now it looks kind of black, but about a half hour ago, it was very red. It was very, very red with a lot of corrosion and a lot of rust there. And I could not for the life of me get this thing off. Now, it's a little bit old, and you can also see that it's broken right there. So this, for somebody like me, especially as my hands are getting older, they're not strong things that I couldn't get a grasp on it. I couldn't turn it. I started something that should have taken me 30 seconds, started taking me 3 and 4 minutes, and I couldn't move the thing. I started to get really frustrated, and I almost walked away from it. And I said, no, if I don't get this thing off now, I'm going to not get it off at all, and it's going to be stuck there for the winter. So I stopped for a minute. I stepped back. I looked at it. What is the big-ass problem here? The big-ass, that BAP, okay, that big-ass problem, the BAP, is that the screw piece is corroded. What do you use? Maybe some lubricant. So I went in, I got some lubricant spray, a little bit of oil, and I sprayed it. That thing just whoop, 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 came right off. All I needed was 2 or 3 little sprays. Again, it came off in 30 seconds, and I got it off. And I was so excited that it was a little success that I just said, oh, yes, I'm awesome, yes. Okay, I did it. And now I can put it away and I can say, check, that's done. And I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to stress over something really stupid. And, we do stress. And I'm going to say that, please interrupt me today if you need to, Jennifer, because I'm going to try to push and talk a little bit more and be a little bit more babbly, because I just know that you're, that you're not feeling that great, and I'm trying to help you save your voice. It's not that, but I really want to hear, everything that you have to offer. We're really excited about today. My goodness, we're in the final home stretch, aren't we? I can't believe that we're in the 9th of the 10-week series already. This is really amazing.
It is. It's kind of, oh boy, you can hear it. It's interesting how fast the 10 weeks have gone. And I look back and think, well, that's how fast things have been going. We just didn't have a marker for it. So now looking at all the things that we've been able to accomplish over these 10-week periods, it's really kind of encouraging each week to see, okay, so can I do more this week? I know that I did a lot this week. Okay, that's awesome. Now it's become a challenge with myself, nobody else. In fact, it's gotten to the point that I don't really care what other people think about the things that I'm putting out there, because I've heard back from the people that are in the classes, that have gone through the programs, that have changed their lives because of it. So all of the amorphous they matters not at all, because those I've gotten out of my way enough. And it started by simply doing something and paying attention to those things that glitter, those divine inspirations, those inspired actions that made, okay, so I see where this is going. Excuse me.
We, there always will be haters, and there are always those people that we can't help. And when we're in a situation where, especially, I'd like to talk about business, for example, because with business, we have, if you look at 100% of the possible leads that we would have out there, with any business at all, you are lucky if there are 3% of all of those leads that would be actively looking for your service. And what a big mistake that we make, that many business people, that we all make as business people, is that we're in a dogfight for that 3% of the people that are really active and really want. There is another 30% of the people who may know that it's something that they want for the future and that it's very interesting, but they're just not actively looking right now. You can use a car, for example. 3% of the people, I need a car today. This car is dangerous that I have to go in, and they're going to go and they're going to buy a car today. And you'll see advertising for 0% financing that is focused just toward those people, because the question is not whether or not they're going to buy a car, as who's going to get the best deal. So then you have another 30% of the people that are putting money into fixing the car, and this is going wrong and that's going wrong, and they know they need a car, but they just haven't really gotten around to making that decision, maybe 6 months down the road. There may be another 30% of people who don't realize that they need a car. Their car has just started to cause them troubles, and they really love the car, and they're not considering getting rid of it, but really, with a little bit of education, maybe they do start doing a little shopping, they suddenly realize, boy, I could save myself a lot of money, or I could be a lot safer on the road if I get a car. Now, those people might take them another year to make that decision. But you're talking about a good 60% of the people there that with a little bit of education, just a little bit of education and showing them a way, it's going to help them forward. And I think that's a lot of what we're doing here, is we're educating people. A lot of people are saying, oh, that's kind of interesting. Creativity is not something that many people beyond artists and musicians really think about. Yet, it's something that we all are, it is a part of our basic makeup. Mm-hmm. A lot of people never think about it that way. I shouldn't say met, I've met with a number of my friends are very highly successful business people. They have a Midas touch, that things turn to gold. And I've had a number of them say to me, when I tell them about this creativity series, they go, wow, that sounds really fascinating. You mean you can do that? You mean you know how to tap into the creative force? Like it's a new concept. And I said, well, yeah, we all do. We all do. It's just a matter of being mindful of it. Yes, it's a matter of being mindful of it and being clear and realizing that this is what we do. It's not just about creating something. This tapestry that's on the wall here. Somebody created this. Somebody sewed this entire banner, and they had to have the art to create it all. And you're creating something outside yourself, but when we really stop and think about the creative force and how every single thing we do, sticking my fingers up in the air like this is part of a creative process. I have to think about doing this, and then I have to make it happen.
And I'm going to bring it back around to where I was going, because it was all about the willingness to action. The precept for today, I have gotten confirmation over the last couple of weeks that all of these inspired actions that I've taken, conversations that I have started, pieces of artwork that I had done, pictures that I had downloaded, all these little bits and pieces that in the moment when I was doing them, I questioned myself, going, why am I doing this? Where is this leading? And yet, the response was always, it's the right thing to do. It's the next step. Just trust. This is the next thing.
Self-trust.
And so I spent a couple of months in and amongst all the other stuff doing these things that I didn't understand why I was doing them, but they were the inspired actions, oh, cool, now it's time. I'm going to put together this picture with these kind of words on it, and I'm going to save it. I mean, I'm not going to use it. Why did I just waste all that time? No, because you've got it saved. When I went into this latest project, all of those pieces that I had been working on for the last few months, there was a reason behind it. I just wasn't fully aware of what the reason was. So when it came time to put the thing all together, it fell together beautifully, like it was created outside of myself, and I just got to be the vehicle with which it came through on. And it was really, really amazing. So the willingness to action, I had said that I wanted to make this happen. I wanted to allow this to be created, and in that acknowledgement, I allowed the divine inspiration, the creative force that which ties us all together, to come in and say, okay, now do this. Now do this. And being open to the process allowed this thing to be so much smoother than had I just lived here. And yes, I'm pointing at third eye, but I also mean in my head. Because third eye, if not grounded, is stuck out in the ethers with fear and everything else. And it doesn't allow for controlled, focused action. Anyway, long way around saying, because of my willingness to action, willing to put the work in, and listening for the creative nudges, the projects have been falling together so much easier than if I just think and force my way through. You've seen the the journey to success is never a straight line between A and B, that it's meandering, it swirls, it's over mountains, down in valleys, and sometimes we come back to the start before we ever get to the end. And that, I really, in my own experience, that is what the true creative process is about. Because each time we take a turn, we find another piece that we've either forgotten about ourselves, a piece for the project that we hadn't realized was important, or a conversation with the person that they needed at that moment to help me get to where I wanted to go, which, yeah. Okay.
Yes, and sometimes we just need to step back, just like in archery. The bow, you don't just send the bow out, you cock back first. It's the same thing with a gun. I don't handle guns, but you do still. You have to cock the trigger in order to get get things moving forward. So sometimes we do. We need valuing that stepping back to see what it is, if we've missed anything, if there's something that needs to be put into place.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so excited about today's. I'm going to bring up the screen share to show you today's precept, the 10 Precepts of Creativity. We're having so much fun tapping the creative force for any goal here. And I at some point, I think I'm just going through this because I do every time. I'm giving everybody the creative precepts, and you can go back to the very beginning when we began, the middle of summer. I guess it was the beginning of August there, where we spent an hour on each one of these creativities, and they're quite powerful. They within each one of them, it brings us to that level of awareness that propels us forward, which brings us to today, Precept Creativity number 9. Willingness to action sparks all creative beginnings. I could also say willingness to action sparks all creative continuations as well as finishing. Because how many times have we started projects that we never finished them either? So we need to get there and to realize. I remember when I first lost my job as a high school teacher. The budget was bad. The economy crashed. This was back in just around 2008. The economy crashed. I had a program. I was laid off because there was no money to teach foreign languages, and they were cutting back on all of the foreign language department. And I really didn't know what to do, so I was looking around, and I knew I wanted to start my own business, but I wasn't quite sure. And I did have some ideas, but I was a little bit afraid to get them started. But I started to meet different people and go to different networking groups, and there was this one networking group I went to right next door, because I live right next door to an art center. So everybody at this particular networking party were artists, and they were all talking about their process and everything. And I started to ask people, how do you get started on a project? How do you keep yourself from being blocked? How do you finish projects? All of these things were right in the front of my mind. And one person just said, well, sometimes you just don't think about it. If you don't feel that you have inspiration, you have to create the situation. First of all, clean up the clutter. If you're going to write a book, pull out a book template and make an outline with a table of contents. Or if you're going to paint, set up the easel. Sometimes just setting up the easel and mixing the colors right there is enough to inspire that inspiration, those ideas to come forward. Which reminds me a lot of what you just said, Jennifer, that when you start to set things up and put things in place and giving it some energy, showing your own willingness to put one foot in front of the other, to take some sort of an action, even if it's picking up the dirty clothes off the floor. Yeah. It's clearing up and organizing organizing yourself so that you're ready to move forward with this.
Yes, and it's trusting self and trusting the inspiration. For me is a big one. Relearning what the gentle nudges are, and that's been this last year, because it's gone into a I'm being taught differently now, and as a result, my teachings are different. They're an awful lot softer. They're an awful lot more subtle, because people are getting it faster. So my teaching style needs to adjust, which has been me having to learn differently. And so for me, the inspired action has had to come in just little. And I say this and people go, well, what do you mean? Until they stop and understand that they get it too. They just don't see it the same way. Things sparkle for me. They grab my attention. It's like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do. Okay. Trusting that. Oh, you've got my full attention.
Yeah.
And not having to explain it, not having to validate it, not having to justify it. It's trusting in the process, trusting in the action.
Earlier in this whole series, we were talking about the creative, and we talk about energy, how it permeates everything. We are made up of water. If you really go into the physics of it all, there's a lot of space within everything. And when we bring that awareness back and we step back and we look at the larger picture, we don't have to buy into and really give validation to, I don't want to use the word validation because fears can be valid. I mean, people have fears all the time. People have fear of dying. They have fear of losing their job, fear of not being able to provide for themselves or for their family. And there are a lot of fears. But those fears are built, they're hardwired into our being as animals. And yes, we are animals. I'm sorry if I insult anybody with this. I just found somebody talking about me on a forum. It really insulted that I referred to people as animals. But we are. Yeah. Yes, we are. Now I could have gotten really
Yes.
I could have gotten really upset about that and gotten, that person could have sent me over the ledge getting all upset. But you know what? There is always going to be some negative force. We live in a duality. There's always going to be a very high light white, purple, lavender color. There's yellows, reds, oranges, going all the way down to black, and it's all part of the whole spectrum. They're just different vibrations, and when we can look at it from that kind of physics point of view, and just relax and not put a label on it as good or bad, we can use the entire spectrum to our benefit. As we've said before, every problem has an equal or greater opportunity to it. It's just a matter of whether or not we are willing to take action on doing something about that.
Yes. That's why I love this precept, because that was beautifully explained, Michaela, because there is always a hidden gem down in our deepest, darkest corners.
Yes.
It just depends on if we're willing to go get it or not. And without a doubt, and I've been doing this for 20-some years, without a doubt, there has never been a time when it has not been worth it. And it's not just for me, it's for those that I work with too. It is always worth it. It's scary because it's not someplace that we're ever encouraged to go. It is always worth it. And you come out on the other side lighter, color-wise, energy-wise, vibrational-wise, clarity-wise, and suddenly a lot of the fight is gone. And it's that willingness to action. And it can start as simply a pulling, a tugging in our center, in our spirit, in our heart, as something that brings tears to our eyes, something that says, oh, that I want more of that. What is that? There's something there, and not even a full understanding of what it actually is, but something that is calling you deeply. Yeah.
Well, that's perfect. That's beautiful, and that brings us also to the point of awareness and mindfulness, something that we talk about every single week, because that is what this is all about. It's bringing us to a greater awareness where we are we are acting within creativity, and we are aware of that creativity as we move forward.
Yes.
Today, I want to tell you about an experience I had earlier today. It's really wonderful. There's a local businesswoman that does, she's an organizer. And she teaches people how to organize. She consults with people from housewives to corporate executives. She works with everybody, and she's got fantastic ideas on how to be organized. And she used some examples of things that became aha moments, because we don't realize that a lot of the systems that we have set up are failed systems. For example, if you start using a calendar but you never look at it, that's a failed system. You need to have the willingness to look back and look and see, well, what is it that I have scheduled in here? Things that maybe if you start a new job. She told the story of this one guy that was at his wit's end with his lack of organization, his cluttered office, and he found this woman, Kristen, and said, Kristen, you've got to help me. I have been struggling for 6 years in this job, and this mess just isn't working. Well, when they went in and they analyzed it, they realized that the guy was working on the previous manager's organization system, which was a failed system because maybe it worked for the previous employee, but it did not work for this manager. And that was a big aha moment for him. So sometimes we think maybe it's a matter of shifting and trying out a new way of organizing, or looking very closely at what we have organized, what we have set up, and say what's working and what isn't working. Yes. And having the willingness to do that. There was one other thing that she talked about, how many of us clear stuff out once a month. We clear that big mess off our table or off our desk once a month. But if we had ourselves organized and had a system from the get-go, the few seconds that it would take, the few extra seconds it would take to put those pieces in their proper place in the first place, we wouldn't have to spend all this time organizing once a month.
I like
so
that.
It's a matter of finding what is working. If something isn't working for you, step back, look at it. It's so important to look at it. It's so important to be mindful and to be aware that something does have to change, because we have seen, how long have we been doing this, Jennifer? We're 20 weeks into this now, because we did a few weeks before we even started that 10 weeks, I believe. So we're talking about that's almost a half a year that we've been working together. Started, it feels like we just, the time just flies. And when a 15-year-old is telling you that time flies, when a 6-year-old is shocked that how time has traveled so fast, that is kind of an awareness that not only is time speeding up, but it's maybe things are speeding up for all of us. Maybe it's true. Maybe the universe is speeding up. I think in quantum physics they're even talking about things about how the universe is speeding up. So perhaps we don't have quite as much time here as we think.
Yes, and that's another very deep conversation.
Yes,
I do want to say something real quick, because I'm realizing that people may be seeing this. This is tea tree oil. So I can't prove it to you because I've rubbed it off. But I've been sitting here sniffing tea tree oil. I tried to use a humidifier and that wasn't working. I couldn't make it steamy enough in here. So anyway, I'm just straight shotting the tea tree oil. Anyway.
You saved me with tea tree oil on the cruise that we went on a couple of years ago. Yeah. I was quite sick. I got very sick on that trip, and you said, "Oh, I have tea tree oil." And you gave me a bunch, and that helped me a lot.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
Very good. Yeah, traveling with an Australian has its benefits, I'll tell you.
Yes. Exactly.
Oh,
I would
you
like to
know
go
what,
back to the
Michaela?
screen
This is
share.
really,
Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
oh,
Yes.
this is funny. This feels like we are almost done.
It
And I'm
does.
looking at the
It
clock
does.
going, but wait a minute. And
Well,
maybe,
we're 37 minutes into it, almost 40 minutes into it, and we have it's sort of like the thing, get her done. Just get it done and move yourself forward. Uh, have the willingness to get up and do something, whatever it is. And moving into the exercises,
oh yeah,
worrying
I told
about
to
the future.
circumvent the exercises. Silly me.
Yeah. You know, recognize that present moment and breathing in it and feeling in it right now. We do tend to get on our merry-go-round where we're spinning around and we don't have time to do anything. But it's amazing. If you have an uber busy schedule with children and work and all sorts of things and maybe a sick parent in your life or sick spouse or sick family member, sometimes we don't have time we don't think we have time. And that right there becomes a stress. But it's amazing how much stress and you can let go of and how you can relax just by giving yourself 1 minute to recognize that present moment, to breathe in it and to feel in it, to breathe. How many times have you been going off the deep end and somebody says to you, breathe? Oh yeah, that's what it is, you breathe. Then take that action steps toward your goals. If you're not too sure, if you're stuck and you don't know what to do, go back to the morning pages. Go back to your journal and write. If you don't think you have anything to write, say that. Let it all out. Go back to our earlier sessions where we really talked so much about the journaling and how important it is. Make an outline. Gather the tools together. So I talked a little bit earlier about how an artist will gather and set up the paints and set up the easel. Turn the computer on. That helps. Get all that laundry cleaned up, or whatever the tools are to, you can't build a cabinet if you don't have the materials to do it. You need to have the saw and the nails and anything else that goes along with finishing that project that you started. And if you're complaining that you don't have time to write a book or do a book, well, maybe it would help to open up a word processing program and at least give it a title, give it a working title, and throw a few ideas in there, and then close it up and go back later. Because these little steps help us toward the willingness to take action. They get us excited to take more actions and to get moving along so we don't even have to think about whether or not we are willing to do it. We just naturally are. Simply showing up with openness is enough to set that creative wheels in motion. Maybe you've heard that saying before, showing up is half of it. Recognizing there's a problem is halfway to the solution. Just stay present. Yes, it's so hard to stay present. We are such a reactive society, and we're always doing things to react. And when we get frustrated with things, a lot of times anger or annoyance or gossip, or have you ever had somebody taking up rent in your brain where you're getting angry about how somebody is being or acting, or you wanted them to do something else? It's a good way of masking what it is that we're not doing, that we may be fearful of moving forward ourselves. And the best remedy for fear is taking action.
Mm-hmm.
And when we look at, even if we're angry or complaining about something, to see, is there some sort of fear underneath there, a fear or an unwillingness to take some action on something that we really need to. There are some things that we really need to, whether it be preparing taxes or doing invoices or even sending out quotes. When I'm talking business stuff, it could be anything. It could be your school work, whatever it is. It's a matter of just reminding yourself, finding some way of staying present.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it might be a string around your finger, be a certain locket that you wear around your neck or your wrist that is a reminder that you're going to stay present and you're going to take action on something that you did not take action on yesterday.
Do you want to go through a real quick exercise? As you were talking, I just kept saying.
Sure, because everyone can come back to setting the schedule, the meditation, whatever these exercises are, and tiny habits. You're giving a. By the way, are you looking at my? Are you looking? Have you been
looking at your beautiful face.
Oh no! I'm so sorry. I was.
Why?
Because I thought that I had done a screen share. And I just wanted, before you go on, I just want to show you what that screen share was, because these are the things that I was just talking about. And there, you know what? And somebody else, maybe 10 years ago, I might have broken down into tears because I didn't show you the screen while I was talking. And this is what I was looking at, and I thought everybody else was looking at it too. But that's okay, because if you're watching this, you can stop it. You can stop the video and take a look at the screen, and you can see what the practice exercises are on there. And I got down to the part where I said, set a schedule for your creative time and remember these exercises. And that's exactly when you said, can I take you through an exercise? So, yes, please take us through an exercise.
Okay. And this is going to be just around knowing that I need to do something and not knowing how to do it. Mm-hmm. Not knowing how to stop procrastinating, not knowing what it is that's keeping me from doing it, but I just can't seem to do it. Okay? And yes, I'm going to do tapping and just jump in and follow along, and I'm not even going to do a setup. There I am. So you repeat after me.
Just want to let everybody know it doesn't matter which hand you use.
Doesn't matter
whichever hand you feel comfortable with.
Yep, and when we get down into here, you can tap on both sides. You can tap on one side. You can tap on the other side. Thank you, Michaela. It is on the bony ridge. It's not on the fleshy part in here. It's on the bony ridge, under the nose, chin, collarbone. I don't know if you can see it there.
Yeah.
And then center of the chest. I'm going to miss the underarm one right now. So I'm going to say a phrase and just repeat after me. And even if you don't feel that it applies to you, say it anyway, because your subconscious will find what it is particular to you to help you release it. It doesn't have to be exactly what I'm saying. Okay? There I am.
There I am.
I know I need to take action.
I know I need to take action.
And I'm not doing it.
No, I'm not doing it.
And I don't know why.
I don't know why.
And I could really be mad at myself.
And I could really be mad at myself.
But I know that that won't do me any good.
But I know that won't do me any good.
I've been doing it for too long.
I've been doing it for too long.
And nothing's shifted yet.
And nothing's shifted yet.
So instead, I'm going to do this a little differently.
I'm going to do this a little differently.
I'm going to be willing to do things a little bit different.
I'm going to be willing to do things a little different.
I'm just going to honor how I'm feeling.
I'm just going to honor how I'm feeling.
I'm actually going to say thank you for letting me know.
I'm actually going to say thank you for letting me know
that there's something that I need to action.
that there's something I need to action.
Because that shows awareness.
Because that shows awareness.
And I may not have had that before.
And I may not have had that before.
So thank you.
So thank you.
It shows that I'm becoming more aware.
It shows that I'm becoming more aware.
And I'm grateful for that.
And I'm grateful for that.
So now with my added awareness, I'm going to take a step of faith.
I'm going to take a step of faith.
And I know that everything in me
is
recoiling at that idea.
It's recoiling at that idea.
And I'm okay with that.
And I'm okay with that.
And I'm just going to honor that that is how I feel.
And I'm just going to honor that that's the way I feel.
And with that being said, I'm going to choose to take action.
I'm going to choose to take action.
It's not a defiance thing.
It's not a defiance thing.
It's not a I'm in battle with you thing.
It's not an I'm in battle with you thing.
It's an empowerment choice.
It's an empowerment choice.
I'm going to sit with what it is that I need to do.
I'm going to sit with what it is I need to do.
And I'm going to allow divine inspiration to come.
And I'm going to allow divine inspiration to come.
To tell me what I need to do next.
To tell me what I need to do next.
And it may simply be doing this exercise.
And it may simply be doing this exercise.
That may be what it is that breaks off the resistance.
That may be what it is that breaks off the resistance.
And I'm open to that being the truth.
And I'm open to that being the truth.
Because I am worth it.
Because I am worth it.
And I've made such huge progress.
And
I've made such huge progress.
I've made such huge progress.
And I'm just going to honor that.
And I'm going to just honor that.
Okay, take a deep breath. And I have found that when I am in places of I know I need to do something and I don't know what it is, or even having things that I know I need to do and I can't seem to do them, I will simply focus on the task and I will tap. A lot of times I don't need to say anything because I am focused with all of my energy on what that block is. And I've learned, this is one of my learnings, is I've learned I don't have to know what it is. Doesn't matter what it is. If I need to know, it'll come to me. The point is that I just need to move through it and to gather what it is that it is having me look at. And that seems very out here, and go through the process and you may be surprised and amazed and relieved at what you find. So.
That was awesome. Thank you so much, Jennifer. That was so perfect for the closing of today's precept, the willingness to take action.
Cool.
Yes. So, thank you. Yes. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And please look at the exercises. Replay the end, that tapping. Tapping is very powerful. it's a focal point. It's working with electromagnetics. It's amazing how we shake things up, and giving ourselves permission to realize that whatever kind of stump or slump or obstacles that are facing us, or stuff that we're in, that things can change, and they can change in the next 10 minutes.
Yep.
And using a tapping exercise like this, going to the exercises that we have for each one of these precepts, these are the tools that help us to let go of those unvirtuous actions that get in our way, and help us toward the good steps that move us forward into our creative space.
Yeah.
Our God-given right.
Yay!
Yeah. Yay! Thank you so much, Jennifer. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And any comments, questions, please leave them down below, and we're happy to get your feedback.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Michaela.
And next week is the last week of, so it's going to tie everything together. So please join us next Thursday at the same time for the 10th and last week in our series. Aloha.
Bye.